Hello everyone and welcome to this playthrough for Master Division in the Voyager tournament. This video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go! We're going to start off with hole number 1, and as you can see we're going to have some massive headwind here, and this is going to be a struggle. The drive is very important. I do decide to play with 7 bars of topspin and as much side spin to the left as possible. As you can see with my landing position here, I'm choosing a very low landing position and using topspin instead. From this position we're going to play this one with max numbers, plus we're going to add 10% due to the elevation. So we're going to play this one 10 rings. And now we're going to just hit it perfect. We do hit it great. No, but in the end, the only thing that we want to focus to do is to put ourselves as close to the top there as possible. With that amount of top spin, we don't have to overpower. We can just make a regular shot and we're going to be there on the top and still going to be able to play with the sniper, as we will have a good opportunity with the sniper to get this ball in the hole. Do not forget, before I take my second shot, to check down in the video description. You will see direct timestamps for every hole in this playthrough. That will let you not to, like, if you okay, let's say you do have hole number 1 done and ready. You know exactly how to play that one. Then you can just skip to hole number 4, hole number 5, or something like that. And for Master T, we do play from the third tee, which also allows us to have more distance when it comes to our shot. We need to plan a bit differently. So we're going to line up. We're not going to use any side spin, any top spin, or any backspin. The reason we are not going to do that is because we're going to just let the ball guideline to be past the pin with like 1 square, and then we're going to adjust for max numbers. I'm not adding anything for elevation whatsoever, and from this position we're going to add as you can see we're going to add 5, and then we do have 5, 6 and almost 7 more, which would be like 12.8 rings. We hit it perfect here. As you can see, we're coming in a little bit too much to the right still, and we would be good with adding, I would say, 2 rings more, like 1.5, 2 rings more in my opinion. Then we would be more spot on. So add a little bit more, and then we will be absolutely perfect with hole number 1. Still, this is not going to be a general albatross hole. We're going to have the par 4s as hole that we do need to get something extra. As for hole number 2, for an example, and hole number 4 and hole number 7. So not that hard course, but the drive is very important. If we do go too short on the drive, like let's say we forget about the 10% extra, then we're going to have a very tough time to reach for the green too, as we most play overpowered shot over the water. Because if we can just get the shot to be in range so we can play over the water, then we're going to be fine. If you don't feel comfortable playing with drive as I did, and don't feel comfortable because you don't know if you're going to reach as far with a drive or not, then play with a cataclysm or a big dog that gives you those 8 yards more of distance that you do have of those clubs. So let's play hole number 2, and here I do suggest that you play with a ball with either, I would say, a dual ball that has power 4 but also wind resistance 4, or you play with a ball like the Voyager ball that do have power 1 but also have wind resistance 4. The thing that I'm looking for here, as you can see with changing it up with spin, etc, it's to find, like, okay, can we get to find a way where we safely will put our ball on the fairway after the bunker, which we cannot. We're going to add 8.5 rings. With this, we're adding 20% to our adjustment. We are playing with an Apocalypse level 6, so have that in mind as well, which is 1.5 per ring. We're going to go with a little bit overpower, as you can see, and we're going to try to find this particular situation here. The reason we're going to do that is because we're going to want to reduce our wedge and try to chip it in from distance. I know it's not ultimate on this short par 4, but in my opinion, I would say there is one other way really to play this one to get a better result. That is, try to go with max overpower and try to go and hit the bunker just on the tip of the bunker to let the ball bounce over the bunker. Because with the headwind, even though we max topspin and landing like our opponent is doing there, we are not going to have any opportunity to roll through the bunker and up on the right side. Sorry, up on the other side, and that would of course be the ultimate situation. Sure, here we could actually go for the dunk with the thorn, but I do decide to play with the Endbringer here. We'll play it in max distance, and when I play with my wedge, I don't count rings, but I do use the squares as a reference, or the grids on the green. So I'm adding around, while with this type of wind, I'm having around six for one grid on the green, which would be approximately for 10 here. But we can see here coming in just a tiny little bit left, and I need to add just a tiny little bit more. But this is definitely a shot where I'm going to just narrow it down and then going to make it happen. Even though we can't go for the green on hole number 2, that is definitely going to be a key hole in my opinion. So we're going to play with the sniper here for hole number 3. And as you can see, I'm going to very much overplay this one with side spin to the right. I'm going to play 4 side spin to the right. And the thing that I want to show you here is that this is a part 3. You don't have to play with a wind fireball. You can play with a regular kingmaker and still have no problem to reach for the green here. When I do play these shots, I do add 10% due to elevation. But I would have to say with this type of side spin that we do have, we are not going to add anything for elevation whatsoever, and then I'm just going to play it regularly. As you can see, coming in a little, very much too much to the right. It's like it's not even close to the pin. But the thing here that we do find is that we do find a way to, with max numbers with our sniper, to hit that fairway pad, and then we just need to mixture a little bit better with spin. I would say 2 bars of side spin to the right. If we're going to go with a little bit of curl. Other than that, I would go with 3 bars of side spin to the right, no curl to the to the right, and 1.5 bar of backspin, and then we're going to add and then we're going to play it max numbers with no adding for elevation. That would be my play. And I do apologize for not maybe showing that way, but in the end, in Masters, you do not get the chance to play the courses that often. Then you need to figuring out, when you have seen replays and stuff like that, how to play. That is why I want to make that perfectly clear when I talk about it here on the video. So hole number 4 now, and hole number 4 is definitely going to be an opportunity, and it's going to be a key hole for us. That's for sure. It is very, very important to get this up into short iron range. There is 2 ways to play this hole, and you can play both with a kingmaker. And our opponent is going to try to go on the left side, and I would have to say, like, going to the left side, I will credit Brian Hart in Team Tommy for playing this way. Actually show me a way where you can be very close towards the pin with a wedge. In this playthrough, which was played before that, then I'm going to play it very much conservative and play it on the right side, giving myself a way for the thorn. I love the thorn from the distance that we're going to have, so that is no problem. But of course, I would love to get a wedge shot even closer to the pin. That would be absolutely amazing. So we're going to be in max distance with Apocalypse level 7. This shot is going to have 4 bars of top spin, max side spin to the left. We're going to drag it up, then we're going to adjust from that position. We're going to adjust 5, then we're going to adjust almost 10. So 9.8, 9.9. So we're adding 10% due to elevation. And then we're going to make the ball just bounce there nice and smoothly over. Now we do hit the tree, but it doesn't really matter because we're still going to get over there to the fairway, and that is kind of the worst case scenario when we do hit the tree. Best case scenario, we're going to just bounce through there, and then we're going to just have an even shorter shot for the pin. Now we're going to have a thorn in max distance, and as you know me, and for you that has been watching stuff with me, I like when I am kind of in just max distance, or I am in just minimum distance of my clubs, then I know I'm going to be very spot on with my shots. The thing to think about here when we play this particular hole is that we're going to have a massive crosswind. That is the hard part, because then we need to adjust for the bounce. That is very important, because if we don't adjust for the bounce that we're going to get, then it doesn't really matter how spot on we're going to be with our numbers, because we're still going to miss on the right side. So our opponent here are going to miss on the right side and go a bit short. And now it's our turn. And we're going to play, as I said, Thorn max distance here. And I suggest also that you play with the Goliath, would be good. I do also, as you see, +3 yards with a Thorn will work well. I do go with adding, as you can see, 1 grid to the left there, 3 bars of backspin. And then we're going to adjust for 11. The thing that I would suggest you to do here in this situation is, instead of having to like you move the ball guideline that much, then and just have to adjust for the trajectory, I do suggest that you play with a little bit of side spin to the left, 2-3 bar side spin, and then you don't have to add as much for that. We're coming in pretty nicely, getting it very, very close. Oh my god, a little bit less speed, that would have been perfect. As you can see, with adjustment, went with 6.5 rings, combined with adding just half a ring towards the pin due to the lower trajectory that we do get. So have that in mind, because we drop down when there is a lower surface, then we need to add that for the trajectory. So, okay, hole number 5 now, par 5. Par 5. And we are going to, of course, go and do our very, very best to make this albatross, or at least giving ourselves a good attempt for the albatross. Our opponent choosing the left side, and in my opinion that is the wrong side. Sure, it's going to be possible to reach for the green with the massive tailwind that we're going to have, and as you can see, we're adding 10% to our adjustment here. 11.6 max side spin, 3 bars of top spin. So look at the screen here now, going to drag it out, and we're going to use 11.6, and we're going to give this one 8.1 rings. We're going to drag out our adjustment here, so we do have the ball guideline just cutting the rough there on top, and then we're going to start by adjusting 5 rings, and then we're going to go and adjust, sorry, 9.1, my mistake, 9.1 rings, and then we're going to go with half a ball of curl to the right. We don't need to go with more, because the ball is going to come in with the side spin in the way that we want to. If we go a bit short, we're just going to cut the rough, but we are still going to fall down nice and easy with the tailwind that we're going to have. So that is kind of the worst case scenario. If you would be over curling, and let's say you would be using 1 ball of curl outside to the right, then you would be putting the bunker very much in play. But playing this drive 10% extra due to elevation, and you played max numbers, max side spin right, 3 bars of top spin, then you're going to be perfect there. And then you maybe wonder, okay Tommy, you will have to stretch it out and adjust from there because you're only using 3 bars of top spin. Yeah, but that is because if we just bounce over the rough there, we don't want to come in too hot. We do have the tailwind, which is going to push us very, very hard. And with 4 or 5 bars of top spin, we're going to definitely risk putting ourselves in the rough on the left or on the top, if we are like maybe missing a drive or not being very, very much spot on with our adjustment. So our opponent here as well puts himself in the bunker, of course, kind of a worst case scenario on this hole. Now we're going to be in max distance of our club. You can see I'm still using the sniper, and this is definitely a shot we need to dial in, as you will be able to see here now. The thing that I first and foremost want to do is to take away 10% to my adjustment. That is because we're going to play uphill. And then we're going to drag the adjustment out, and then we're going to adjust from that position. 5, 10, and then we're going to go with 12 rings. And we're going to drop down into the bunker there, which is going to give us a lower trajectory, and then we need to push it up just a tiny little bit. As you can see here now, we're going to come in much to the left. We do have a good speed here. That is no problem with the speed, but coming in left because we're going to get pushed to the left. And of course, now when we do not have the distance enough to just being able to have a clear look at the pin, then it's going to be a little bit left or a little bit right. But if we can stretch that one out, use a little bit of side spin to the right, 2-3 bars, and go with 5 bars of backspin, and let the balls bounce do the rest. And I'm going to take that again. The 2-3 bars to the right will allow us to stay away from having to adjust down into the bunker, which will take away the risk for us to have that lower trajectory and therefore have a trouble adjusting. A lot of talk. I do apologize if it doesn't make sense sometimes, but please make a comment with a question if so. We're going to play against Phil here, a very excellent player. He goes a bit short, but other than that, it's definitely a very good shot here for hole number 6. This is going to be tough as we're going to have headwind and we're going to play with our driver. We're not going to play with a quarterback, we're not going to play with a rock, as we're not going to have distance enough. 4 bars backspin, max side spin to the right. And then we're going to let the ball guideline, as you can see here, being just by the fringe there on the left. Because even though we're just 4 bars of backspin, we're still going to make this ball kind of just stop when it hits the ground. We are adding 10% in this example. I would suggest that you add 20% when playing this particular shot. So we're going to play, as you can see here, 5, and then we're going to play it 8. And the thing that happens here now is that we actually do forget to adjust for the trajectory here. We're going to drop down into the bunker, which is going to make us lose distance, and therefore we're going to be short on this particular drive. So we would be having to push it up like 1.5, 2 rings. And we had to push it up 1 ring, but also needed to adjust it 20% instead of 10% over. Still no problem for the birdie. Did maybe overcurl it just a tiny little bit, but in the end, safe birdie is something that we definitely could improve from. So, hole number 7. And hole number 7 is going to give us, what can I say? Hole number 7 is going to give us 2 opportunities here, or two different play styles. One, you play with full topspin and you try to bounce through the trees there and having a portion of luck putting the ball through the rough, rolling through the rough, up on either on the green or on the fringe, or you're going to be in the rough to get yourself a rough iron shot for the pin. In this example, I'm going to just play straight forward. I'm not going to show you playing through the trees because it's not going to it's basically going to be max overpower. You aim up through 2 trees and then you play it almost max overpower. As I said, I'm playing this one straight forward, trying to put myself up as for a good opportunity possible with my short iron. And this is going to be a good opportunity as well, and it's kind of what you prefer. If you want to play with 9 out of 10 times at least, because you can see there is not that much fairway that we can jump on. We need to roll through a lot of rough. So if you do feel that you want to play and risk being in the rough there, then go full blast through the trees and hopefully you're going to stay well. If you want to take a safe route, don't take any risk, and you feel very comfortable with the thorn or with your wedge, then you should be playing straight forward, having that shot for the pin. For us here, as you can see, we're going to play with the thorn, always the thorn, and we're going to be in almost minimum distance of our club. So we're going to be just a tiny bit over minimum distance, and we're going to add a little bit of side spin to the left, just 1 bar. We're going to add a little bit when it comes to for the bounce. And this particular example, we are supposed to play in with minimum numbers, as we are already adjusting a little bit for the bounce that we're going to have. So but we do adjust it a little bit too much. So we played 4.8 rings, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8. We hit it perfect, and we're going to miss this one just by a tiny little bit to the right, as you see, because we did, I did adjust it for being a little bit more than minimum distance, as I said from the beginning. But then I did adjust for the bounce as well. Then I need to play it in minimum distance because it's so close that it's not going to be that big of a difference there. Still, hole number 7, to be able to win this tournament, you need to make an eagle on hole number 7. So decide for yourself, either you're going to play it straight through the trees or you're going to play straight forward. Here on this particular hole, you can either play left side or you can play in the center. If you play with a more wind resistant ball, then I definitely suggest that you can play in the center here. I'm going to show you that with and tell you the adjustment, even though the execution is not going to be spot on maybe. Our opponent is trying the same, but coming in a bit too short. And now we're going to play with a more wind resistant ball. We're going to play with the Oceania ball that gives us wind 5. The reason I only suggest to play in the center here with a wind 5 ball is because we're going to have a problem with adjusting for our shot when having to adjust more rings, like let's say 12 rings with the sniper. That is going to be up on the hill there, and that is going to give us a little tiny bit of a problem. I'm not going to go with any type of side spin to the right, just 3.5 to 4 bars of backspin. That's going to be my play. 5 rings, and then we do have 7.5, and we are adding 10% in our adjustment for this particular hole. As you can see, we might had to go with a tiny bit of overpower, and now we're getting to bounce. As you can see, I like this direction of the ball. 1 bar of side spin to the right would be good in this particular example, and then tiny bit of removal with the backspin. Then we're going to absolutely go for the pin there. That is definitely the way that I'm going to play if I'm going to play with a wind 5 ball. If I'm not having a wind 5 ball, then I'm going to play on the left side, putting myself on that hill there, trying to bounce myself up to the green, take that birdie. In my opinion, this is absolutely possible for an hole-in-one, but it's definitely not a hole-in-one you're just going to get like doing that. So you need to rely on the bounce and have a little bit of luck, as always. So, last but not least, we're going to play hole number 9. And hole number 9, we're going to play with a Kingmaker. Of course, if you do have a bunch of power 4 balls, let's say a dead ball or a royal ball, then you can definitely play with that instead, and going to give you more distance for your second shot. We're not going to add anything to elevate due to the elevation here. So we're going to just play it as it is. So we play it 5, 7 and 7.7 rings. And we're going to go with a tiny bit of curl, not much at all, because we don't want to over curl it and bounce our ball in the rough. Oh my god, I was about to press my iPad, running out of battery. 3 bars of top spin is going to be enough. I can almost say that we could go with a tiny bit more of curl, but now we're not going to have all the trees in our way, because we're going to use side spin to our right. And as you can see there with the curl, the ball kind of just 10-15% outside to the left side of the ring, and then adjust from that distance. So there is also an opportunity with going max overpower to try to go over to that fairway, to the other fairway platform directly, but I would suggest to stay away from that, because it's definitely going to give ourselves a tough time. This ball is going to be okay as well. It went with a little bit more curl there and have no problem to stay over there. The thing that we want to stay away from is to go too far on this fairway, to have the trees in a way that we know, but also we do want to not risk ourselves bouncing in the rough there from the beginning. I'm playing with a Cataclysm level 6 here to give myself the distance that is needed. We are going to have a little bit of headwind here, but if you do feel very confident by going a little bit further with your drive, like very close to the rough, then you can play with the sniper. But I don't want to overpower my shot, or at least not want to risk anything. Max a side spin to the right, 2 bars of top spin, and then we're going to adjust for max numbers. No adding for elevation. 5, 6, 6.5 rings are going to be our play, and then we're going to not play with any type of overpower. The thing that we do forget about here, and that is also because of the strongness in finding a way to see the ball guideline towards spin, is that we don't adjust enough for the bounce, because we're going to have crosswind left to right, as you see, and then we don't adjust enough for the bounce. So this was the playthrough for Master Division. Have in mind here that I'm trying to be as detailed in my explanations as possible with how I played and how I would maybe improve that a little bit. And I think that is important because in Master you do get limited amount of opportunities to play these holes, and we are going to improve during the opening round and then in the weekend round. For me in Master, we're going to see a score in the weekend that will be at least -28. I would be highly surprised if there is a bracket that will be won by a score with less than -28. We will see what happens, of course. We're going to be there, fight there for the win. Please make a comment in the comment section below if you do have any questions. If you do have, if you do know where I am and you have just a specific and quick question, just hit me up through email or through Facebook. This video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Good luck in the Voyager tournament.